Do you want to start the game? 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 Do you want to start the game?
Hello and welcome everybody. This is the Shy Hat and this is HackerFrogs After School. Alright, so everybody, today we are here on stream and we are going to be learning about some Python programming basics. This is the third workshop in a series of 8 workshops where we're going to be going through a bunch of different Python programming concepts, going week by week. And starting this week, we're going to be doing 2 sessions a week in order to fulfill our purpose, which is to teach basic Python programming skills. There'll be a stream on Monday and there'll be a stream on Wednesday, which is today. All right, so before we get started, what we need to do is we need to go over what we learned in the last workshop. So I've got my handy dandy presentation over here, which I'm going to use to teach. All right, so this workshop is the third intro class to Python programming, and during our last workshop, we learned about a few programming concepts through Python, including the following. Okay, so we learned about lists, which are variables with one or more items associated with them. Items in the list can be referenced by a process called list indexing. So we see here we've got a list over here. You know it's a list because it is an object with these square brackets right here, and inside of the square brackets there are a number of items. In this case there are 3 items, and we can also reference these objects inside of the list by their index number starting from 0. So this is index 0, this is index 1, and this is index 2. All right, so in addition to lists, we also learned about basic operators. Basic operators are used to perform arithmetic calculations, and there's a lot of math that you can do inside of Python. We learned a little bit about that, but today we're going to be moving on to a new subject, or rather it's going to be looking at a subject we've already done in a slightly different way. So this workshop's topics include the following 2 topics. Part 1 will cover string formatting, and part 2 will cover basic string operations. So it's all about strings today. Let's move on to our first topic of the day. It's going to be part 1, string formatting. So string formatting lets us use variables in strings, allowing for dynamic print output. All right, so this here has a variable called Shy Hat. It is a string, and then there is a daily cups of coffee variable over here. which is the number of cups of coffee that are consumed. So we're going to print out string %s drinks %d cups of coffee a day, and then after the string inside of the quotes, we note that it is using a format and that it contains the name variable as well as the daily cups of coffee variable. And when printed out, it shows that Shy-Hat drinks 3 cups of coffee a day. I don't know if that's quite accurate. It might be more, it might be less, depending on the day, but let's go with that for now. So string formatting allows us to insert the names of variables inside of the string. This is an older way of dealing with inserting variable names inside of strings. These days we use a slightly more modern method, which we'll talk about later and which we've already gone over previously. But it's important that we are able to identify this type of string formatting as well. So when formatting in this way, we use the % symbol followed by a letter as the placeholder for the variable in the string. So we've got %s and %d. These are holdovers. Well, I would say these are C programming style string format. So you can see here that %s stands for a string and %d stands for an integer. In which case the two variables that we're dealing with, one of them is a string %s and one of them is a integer %d. So after the string we include the % symbol again, then in parentheses we specify the names of the variables in the order they appear in the string. Note that inside of the string we must pair the % symbol with the letter depending on the data type of the variable we're inserting. So we use %s for strings, %d for integers, and %f for floats. So there are other letters as well, but for right now this is all we're going to be dealing with. Okay, and because they have been introduced in this section right here, we're going to quickly go over tuples since they appear in this exercise. In Python, tuples are very similar to lists, but with one important difference. So you can see here that there is a tuple over here, and it's related to bakers, so that there is a number of different data objects in here that are related to bakers. So there's dough, that's a string. There's 13, that's the baker's oven, it's an integer. There's an oven, there's also flour. So we can also print this out, and it at first glance it looks very similar to a list, but there is a very important difference between tuples and lists, which is whereas lists in Python can be modified during program executable, which is also known as a mutable object, tuples are fixed and cannot be modified during program execution, meaning that they are immutable. So we just need to remember that lists can be modified during program execution, but tuples cannot be modified after they've been defined. Visually, we can distinguish between lists and tuples by the use of square brackets or parentheses, respectively. So when you see the square brackets over here, then you'll know that this is a list. And when you see the parentheses, you'll know that you're dealing with a tuple. Tuples in string formatting, we can also use a tuple variable to store all of the data we want to in our string. Okay, so we have our hacker numbers over here, such as leet and dead beef, and we want to print out a sentence. Actually, we can also use a tuple variable to store all of the data we want to include in our string, then the formatted sentence as another variable. So we have two variables here. There's hacker numbers, with numbers such as 1337 and dead beef, and we have a sentence. Two numbers hackers like are string and string. So one thing we're going to learn is that when we do C-style string formatting, that we can simply specify everything as a string since we're including it inside of a string itself. So we don't have to worry about about incompatible data types. So we can also print the sentence which uses this, this tuple right here as its content. All right, so let's demonstrate this. So we're going to go to Online Python, and this is going to be hacker numbers. And we're going to include our tuple, and it's going to include 1337, and it's going to include dead beef, and then we're going to make our sentence. And we're going to include string and string. And then we're going to include this in our print statement. We're going to print sentence, but we're going to specify that the placeholders in the sentence are going to be the items from hacker numbers. Okay, and when we run this, it's going to replace the %s placeholders with the variables in the hacker numbers tuple over here. Okay, so we get the two items from the hacker numbers tuple, 1337 and dead beef, and they appear in our sentence as a variable. Very nice. Okay, so moving on. So let's move on to the string formatting exercise. So it's going to be at learnpython.org as usual. Okay, so we're going to go to string formatting, and it is on this page. All right, so everybody, if you want to follow along, please use the following link to go to the learnpython.org website and the string formatting section in particular. Okay, so in this first window right here, we're talking about C-style formatting to create new formatted strings. The % operator is used to form a set of variables enclosed in a tuple, a fixed size list. So the fixed size list in this case doesn't really matter since we're using only a single variable. So instead of the name of the tuple or using the name of different variables, we just need to use the name of one variable in this first example because we're only referencing one variable here. So the name is John, and this is supposed to print hello John. So inside of the quotes over here is a sentence, and then we have to include the % and then the name of the variable that is used inside of the string. So if we print this, it says hello John. All right. So here it says to use 2 or more argument specifiers, we have to use a tuple, or otherwise known as parentheses. Okay, so inside the tuple here are the variables name and age. And we have our two variables defined up here, name and age. Name John and age 23. And inside of the quotes over here, it's string is string years old. And here we see that the two variables that are going to be substituted are name and age. So it would be John is 23 years old. We run this, and that is what comes out. Okay, great. Any object which is not a string can be formatted using the %s operator as well. So it's kind of a misnomer to teach the well, I mean, it's not really a misnomer to teach the other letters that go along with the different data types. It's just that you can shortcut using %s instead of those other letters. The string which returns from the rep_r method of that object is formatted as the string. For example, this is going to print out a list, and a list is this, and it is my list. So usually it wouldn't be %s because a list is not %s. It's supposed to be, what is supposed to be the list? Well, I'm not sure what it is. Okay, but anyways, we run that and we get a list and this thing right here. So if you want to know for reference what the different letters are that go along with the percentage, it's %s for strings, %d for integers, %f for floating point numbers, and percent dot number f for floating point numbers. Okay, and we also have one for integers in hex representation. All right, but we don't need to worry about most of these. Mostly, this exercise is so we know what this means when we see it in code, because mostly these days we don't use this kind of string formatting. All right, so for our exercise, you'll need to write a format string which prints out the data using the following syntax. Hello, John Doe. Your balance is $53.44. All right, so we have here our data and our format string. So what we need to do is we need to adjust the format string. And that's all we need to do. We don't need to adjust line 1, the data. We only need to adjust line 2, the format string variable. So it's going to be hello %s and then period. Your current, oh, we need to print out the full name. Okay. So hello %s %s. Your current balance is $, and then %d, it would be, no, %f for floats. So %f for floats, but we don't need to use %f. We can use %s instead, and then the period. Okay, and then this is perfectly fine. It's going to use the format, it's going to print the format string with the percentage signs as placeholders for whatever is in the data tuple right here, which is first John, then Doe, then 53.44. Okay, so let's try submitting this. And that is the end of this exercise. All right, so let's move on. All right, so the question for our quiz, the first question is, which of the following Python code will print HackerFrogs Python workshop? So that's the exact phrase right here. And we have A, B, C, and D. So which one of these is going to print out HackerFrogs Python workshop? And the answer is B. So inside of the quotes, we have %s workshop. And inside the tuple here, we have our two strings, HackerFrogs and Python. All right, so the problem with A is that it is not using a tuple, it is using a list, which is not allowed by the syntax. And the problem with C is that well, I suppose C is going to work as well. Actually, no, this is not going to work because Python is not an integer, which is %d. So this would be incorrect as well. And this is not going to work because this is the print format for Python version 2, which is not the Python version we're using. Okay, so let's move on to question number 2. Question number 2, which of the following Python code is a valid method of printing variables and strings? So assuming that we have this variable here, name equals the string HackerFrog, Which of the following is a valid way of printing variables in strings? A, B, C, or D? Okay, so the answer is that all of these are going to work. These are all different ways of incorporating variables along with strings. So if we do printf, let's demonstrate on our online Python website right here. So name is equal to HackerFrogs, and we want to print something. So let's do the first example. The first example is print, and before the quote is F, hello name, and name is inside of the curly braces. Whoops, not this, but this. Okay, so if we were to print this, this is going to work, and this is using the F format string after in front of the quotes, which is valid as long as you remember to put F in front of the quotes, and that means that you're going to be able to put the name of the variables as long as it's wrapped in these curly braces right here. All right, so the second method is using the C style string format, which is what we just learned. And let's go back here and paste this in. And we have to make sure that this is not indented, otherwise the Python interpreter is going to not like that. We run this and we get the same thing, hello HackerFrogs. Okay, and the last method is print hello space plus name plus quote exclamation point quote. And this works as well, although this is probably the most clunky version of doing so. So let's take a look here and replace our code. Okay, if we're to run this, we also get hello HackerFrogs. Okay, so that was the second quiz question. And from here, we're going to move on to basic string operations. So strings in Python are considered an object class. So in Python, strings are part of a class, and all string objects are considered to be part of the string class. And as well, classes in Python have special operations called methods that can be applied to those class objects. So if something is a string, it has specific methods available to it. So use of methods in Python code can be identified by the name of the object, followed by a dot, then the name of the method, then parentheses, and any arguments the method requires inside of the parentheses. So uses of functions in Python code can be identified by the name of the function, followed by parentheses, and any arguments the function required inside of those parentheses. So the two things that we need to remember about methods and functions are that methods are functions that work for a very specific type of object. So in the case of string methods, they only work for strings, but functions are something that work. You wouldn't say that functions are something that work for everything, but functions are usually much less strict about what you can perform the functions on. But both of these, both the method and the function, are going to use the name of the function or the method, and then a pair of parentheses that have any arguments that you need inside the parentheses. Note that in both functions and method, inclusion of the parentheses are required, even if there are no arguments required for the function or method to execute. So sometimes you'll see a function and then a pair of parentheses and nothing in the parentheses. For some functions, that is perfectly valid. So we're going to talk about a bunch of different functions and methods, and we're going to demonstrate the use of these. So the first, we'll talk about the len function. So the len function is used to count the number of indexes contained in an object. In the case of strings, it returns the number of characters, and in the case of a list, it returns the number of items. So if we have a string, so we say HackerFrogs, say we have HackerFrogs over here, and we're going to say, we're going to print len name, and name is equal to HackerFrogs. It's going to tell us how many letters are in this HackerFrogs string right here. All right, so when we run this, it says 11. And if we count, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so that's 11 characters inside the HackerFrog string. Okay, so that was the len function. Next is the index method. So the index method is used to locate the first instance of the argument within the object. The output is the number of characters into the string where the object appears, counting from 0. Because we're counting indexes, it's going to be counting from 0. And in this example here, food.index A is going to return the index where the first instance of A appears. And in the case of the string pizza, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's why 4 appears over here, even though it's the 5th letter in pizza, because we're counting from 0. All right, so the output of the method is 4 because we start the count from 0, okay? Next is the count method. The count method returns the number of times the argument appears in the object. Note that we don't count from 0 in this case, because we're not counting indexes, we're counting numbers of the number of times something appears. So greeting.count L, okay? So it's going to count the number of L's that appear inside of the variable greeting, which is the string hello, and in this case 2 L's appear. If we were to go back to our example at Online Python, so this one is name.count, and we have to include something in the argument. So how many times does the letter R appear inside of HackerFrogs? Okay, so that's going to be, well, we predict it's going to be 2 because the letter R occurs 2 times, over here and over here. Let's run this. And the answer is 2. Okay, great. All right. Next, we're going to take a look at string index slicing. So this is a slightly more involved part of string methods and functions. So just as we can index lists to retrieve the item contained at a specific position, we can index strings with each character in the string counting as a separate item. So we've seen that that indexing was done in lists in the last lesson, and in this lesson, indexing can be done for strings with each one of these letters being a different index. So this is index 0, index 1, and index 2. So when we refer to index 0 for the pet variable, which is a string dog, 0 is going to correspond with the letter D. Okay? All right. So remember, when indexing in Python, counting starts from 0 instead of 1. I know that I'm starting to sound like a bit of a broken record with this, but it is something that people have to get used to, and some people get tripped up when they see the numbers aren't matching what they think they're going to be. Okay, but what's more interesting is the ability to select specific slices of the string. So here we've isolated the 3rd and 4th letters from the string Python. So we've got the pet variable, which is the string Python, and we're going to print pet starting from the second index until but not including the fourth index. So it's going to be the third letter and the fourth letter. So it's going to be the third letter and the fourth letter because this is index 2 and this is index 3, but we stop before index 4, which is the fifth letter over here. And that gives us the letters T and H. Inside the brackets, we indicate the character to start from, counting from 0, then a colon, then the character that marks the stopping point, which is not returned, which is not included. Okay, so 2:4 indicates to start from the third character and stop at the fifth character, not including it in the output. If a second colon is included in slice indexing, the number to the right of it indicates the number of characters to count by when slicing. So this number over here is the number of characters to count by. So we count by 2, which means we skip every second character. And in this case, we're going to start from index 0. We're going to stop before index 9, and we're going to count by 2, which means we're counting C and N and T and E. So let me see. So this is index 9. 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, okay. So this is why both of these E's are included, because there's 10 indexes. We go to index 10, although index 10 doesn't exist in this case. Sorry, it is index 9. Sorry. Okay. So in this output, we see that the slice starts from the first character, ends before the 10th character, and skips every second character. Okay, so this is how we parse this kind of syntax out. So the last part of string index slicing we'll cover is using negative index numbers. If a negative index number is used, the index starts counting from the end of the string instead of the beginning. So if we start with the negative index, it starts from the end. So this is index -1, index -2, -3, -4, -5, and -6. So -1 is the letter S over here. So we're counting from the other end and going backwards. So here we're printing out the string index for grapes at the -1 position, which is the last letter. Okay, so string indexing is a little bit difficult to pick up on if you're just new to it, but if you practice with it a little bit, it'll become much more easy to understand. So when indexing, if we include a colon without a number to its left, the first colon will have a default value of 0, that is the start of the string, and the second colon will have a default value of a number of characters plus 1, which is the end of the string. So here we've got our fruit variable, which is the grapes string right here, and we're trying to print out the fruit variable by slices. But we're starting from the beginning because there's no number indicated here, and we're ending at the end of it because there's no number indicated here in the middle, and we're counting backwards. We're counting backwards. We're counting by -1, which means we're going to go backwards from the end of the string to the beginning, which means we're able to print out the string backwards. So this is separg, but if we read it backwards, it's grapes. So here, the whole string is in range due to the inclusion of 2 colons with no numbers to the left of them. and we're stepping through the characters in reverse order one by one. So next we're going to cover a couple of different methods for dealing with uppercase and lowercase characters. The upper and lower methods output all of the characters in uppercase or lowercase respectively. So this is definitely something we could do manually, but this string method over here makes it very easy to make sure that something is going to be all uppercase or all lowercase. So in this case, it's I didn't even mean to make that joke, but this is how you would do it to make sure that all of the letters are the same case. And we're also going to talk about these two methods right here, which are the starts with and ends with methods. So you can think of the starts with and ends with methods as kind of a search, and they're used to test whether strings contain the specified arguments at the start or end of the string, respectively. So if we want to search for something in the object, and whether or not it starts with a certain thing or it ends with a certain string, we can do this. So this actually does come in handy sometimes when you're checking if something is spelled a certain way. So if we were to go to, so okay, let's explain. So we've got our group name, which is the HackerFrogs over here, which is a string, and we're going to test whether or not it starts with the over here. And so this is done with the starts with method. So it's dot starts with, and then we include the in the output, in the argument. Breaksec, thank you for rating, and I hope you had a great conversation about Windows recall. Welcome, Raiders. We're doing a little lesson on Python right now. If you feel like joining in, we're using the learnpython.org website on string formatting right now, and I'll include that in the chat just in case you want to join in. So the output of the starts with and ends with methods is always going to be either true or false. Yes, it does start with something, or no, it doesn't start with something, or yes, or true, it starts with something, or false, it doesn't start with something. Okay, so moving on. This is a very useful method to use inside of Python. This is the split method. So the split method is going to convert a string into a list with the separation between items indicated by the argument given. It's usually a space or a comma, but if you don't include anything inside the arguments over here, the split is going to occur wherever there's a space. So space is the default. So we've got our list of groceries. Oh, sorry, we have our string, which are groceries over here. There's eggs, milk, bread, and lettuce. But each one of these items is separated by a comma. So if we're going to turn this into a list, this variable called groceries list, we're going to apply the split method, groceries.split, and we're going to separate each one of these with the comma. So it's going to create a list, and it's going to separate the objects by the commas. So when we print out the groceries list, which is a list that was created with the split method, we see that it's got these 4 items over here, but it's not a string, it's a list. All right, so let's move on to the basic strings operations exercise. So now that we've gotten our feet wet with talking about our basic string operations, let's test these out over at learnpython.org. We're going to go to basic string operations, and I'll supply that link in chat. So it says here that strings are bits of text. They can be defined as anything between quotes. So as we noted before, you can use either single quotes or double quotes to create your strings. It doesn't matter which one you use as long as you're consistent. we run, oh, okay, there's no print statement here. So we can print this out with print, and we can do a string and then comma a string 2. So this right here is going to print out these two variables. So we click on run, and it says hello world, hello world. It doesn't matter if we're using double quotes or single quotes to make our strings, as long as we're using some sort of quote. All right, so next we're dealing with the length of the a string variable. So basically the len function is going to be used to count the number of characters inside of the string over here. So hello world is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 characters. So if we were to print the length of a string, it should be 12. Okay, and so you might ask, why is it 12 characters here? It's because the space as well as the exclamation point count as characters in this case. Okay. All right, so next, this window over here is using the index method. So the string index method is going to tell us at what index the first instance of something appears. So if we're using a string.index o, it's going to show us the first index where the o character appears inside of this string variable, in which case here it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this so the output of this should be 4. Okay, and it is 4. All right, so next we're going to talk about the count method. So the string count method is just going to count the number of times the argument appears inside of the string, and it's going to print that out. So in this case, it's asking how many L's occurs in hello world. So in hello world, there are going to be 3 L's. So if we print this out, it's probably going to output 3. And it does. So remember, anytime you use a method, it's got to be the name of the object, then a dot, then the name of the method, the name of the variable, dot, the name of the method, and then parentheses with any arguments you need inside the parentheses. Okay. All right, so here, okay. So this is where we're talking about string slicing. So remember that strings are a bit like lists in that they can be indexed. And if you can reference something by index, you can get just that part of the string or the list. In string indexing, we can also indicate 2 indexes separated by a comma. And the number on the left is going to be where the counting starts. So this is going to be index 3. Which is character number 4. Which is character number 2. So character number 4. Anyways, this is index 0, and then 1, and then 2, and then 3. So the 4th letter is index 3. It's going to start there, and it's going to print until it's going to stop before index number 7, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to stop before the second O, which means that it's going to print out the L, the O, the space, and the W. Okay, so when we run this, we see that is the case. All right, moving on. Okay, so here we take string indexing a little bit further, and we've got a starting point, and then a colon, and then a stopping point, and then a colon, and then a number to count by, in this case it's 2, which means it's going to start counting here. It's going to stop counting here at the W, and it's only going to count. It's going to count every second character. So it's going to L and then space. So the only thing that's going to be printed out here is the L and the space. So it's the L, but there's also a space. Well, the space doesn't appear. Okay. All right, so in this next example, we see here we've got our in this case, these two syntaxes over here with string slicing, the 3 and the 7, and the 3 and the 7 and the 1, are essentially the exact same thing, because the 1 indicates how many numbers to count by, and it's counting by 1, which means that everything is included. So the LOW, which is letter 4 and going to letter 7, and is going to do that twice. So when we run that, that is exactly what happens. Okay, and in the next example here, we're showing how to print something out backwards. And in this case, we can count by -1. So when we're string splicing rather, when we count by -1, which is the number after the first two colons, and we indicate -1 is going to count backwards. If we were to run this, it would do hello world in reverse. Because these two spaces are empty, it means that the default values are used. And the default values for the first number is 0, and the default value for the second number is the number of characters in the string plus 1. And that means that we're going to print this entire string out in reverse. So it's going to be hello world. Okay. And then we demonstrate here how to use the dot upper and dot lower methods, which are going to print out hello world in all uppercase or all lowercase, respectively. So when we print this out, that is the case. Okay, so like we covered, the next methods are starts with and ends with. So the interesting thing about the starts with and ends with methods are that they're going to either return true or false. So it's going to say yes it does or no it doesn't start with or end with whatever is in the argument over here. So the first one here is starts with, and we're going to check if this string here starts with hello. That's going to print out true because it does, and then we're going to check if the string here ends with these letters right here, and in this case it is not true, which means the output will be false. So if we were to print this, if we were to run this, we get true and false, true for the first one and false for the second one. Okay, so the next section over here is going to show us the string hello world, but we're going to split it up using the string split method, and it's going to create a list. So interestingly enough, we've specified that we're splitting by the space. So when the space occurs, there's going to be a different object. But in fact, you don't need to include this. So even if you don't specify to separate by spaces, by default, it's going to separate by spaces. So when we run this, and then we print it, we're going to see that what prints out is a list of two words, hello and then world, and separated them by space because that's the default. Okay. All right, so now we're coming across the exercise, and this exercise is actually pretty convoluted, but we're going to try to fix the code to print out the correct information by changing the string. So we've got this S variable over here, and it's the sentence, hey there, what should this string be? And it says here that the length of the string should be 20. So this is the first criteria. So what we need to do is we need to modify the string to fit all of these criteria. So it says that the length of the string should be 20, and let's count how many characters are in this string here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20. So we should cut it off right here. So this should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20. Okay, AckerFrogs1. Thank you very much for following. Thank you. All right, so here we've got our second criteria, which is the first occurrence of A should be at index 8. So index 8 is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the first occurrence of A should be right here. So that's covered. And next it says the number of A's should be 2. Okay. So let's do this. And it says slice the string into bits. Okay, so the first 5 characters are start to 5, 5 to 10, and then convert everything to upper and convert everything to lower, and then check how the string starts. Okay, if the string starts with str, so that means that the string has to start with the letters str. Okay, so let's modify this. str. Okay, so str is the start of the string, and the string ends with OME exclamation point. So we need to modify it so that the string ends with OME exclamation point. And we have to make sure that there are split the string into 3 separate strings, each containing only a word. Okay, so we need to make sure that the string is composed of 3 words. Okay, so everybody, if we were to look at this as a puzzle, what 3 words could we put into this output over here? So if you think you know, type in the chat. This is kind of like Wheel of Fortune. You can guess what the 3 words are. So we don't know what these characters are, and we don't know what these characters are. What do you think? And there is a couple here as well. So if we're talking about strings, what do you think these 3 words could be? I'll give you a few seconds to guess. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead. Strong act awesome. Strong act awesome. Okay, so I'll give you a hint. The first word is strings, and the last word is awesome. Strings are awesome. Okay, So that is the I think this is the intended answer, but the thing is that the way this is checking is that it's just checking that all of the criteria are matched. So it doesn't matter if you actually put in strings are awesome, but it's just checking that all of the criteria are met. So I can't play Wheel of Fortune either. Well, I mean, I don't. I haven't played Wheel of Fortune in a long time. It's been a long time since I've watched anything on TV like that. All right, so this is done. This is done. Okay, so we're going to move on to our basic strings operation quiz. So what is the output? So we're going to do A, B, C, or D. What is the output if we use the following code? Print HackerFrogs. And we're going to print out in slices, starting with 6 and ending with -1. What is going to print out? Is it going to be A or B or C or D? Drum roll, please. The answer is C. Brexec says D, the nothing will print, the syntax is incorrect. Well, let's check. We can just grab this and we can copy this. I'll paste this into the chat, and we can go to our online Python editor over here. And we're going to print this. And it prints out frog. So the interesting thing is that if you give print a string, it doesn't matter if it's been established as a variable or not. You can still do string splicing on it. So in this case, the output is frog because we're starting at 6, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, starting at this right here. And we're stopping at -1, which is the last character, which is not included. So we just get frog. That's the answer. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do before we stop today's class, Ilan Idris, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you've been having a lot of fun with your classes. You told me that you were taking some courses a few weeks ago. All right, so we're going to write a program which uses some of the concepts we learned in this workshop. We're going to write a program which records your full name, then tells you what your last name is, and then it's going to tell you how many letters are contained in it being the last name. So let's go over to our online Python webpage over here, and I'll print this. I'll copy this out for everybody in chat. So what we're going to do is we're going to write this program that takes user input for their full name, and we've got our first line of code already written here. So full name equals input. What is your full name? And then the next thing we need to do is we need to separate the full name into the first name and the last name. So how would we separate the full name variable into first name and last name? So let's just say that name split. So name split is going to equal something, and it's going to be full name. But what method are we going to run on this? So it's full name, and it's going to be split. So full name split is going to take whatever is taken as the input, and it's going to split it up between the first name and last name, assuming that the input is only 2 names. If there are 3 names, then it's going to give us 3. Okay, so then again, so that being said, how do we get only the last name? So if we're to try to get last name, what would it be? It would be name split something. So we're only looking for the second one. Ilandra says, I have an ISC2 talk this Friday. I hope that I'll learn more about cybersecurity. Well, I hope you're going to learn more about cybersecurity at your talk as well. Is this something that you're doing in your local city? Okay, so the last name, we can, now that this is a list, we can get the last name by doing indexing. So in this case, the last name is going to be index 1 because index 0 is the first name. So we've got the last name now, and we need to tell how many letters are in the last name. So what should we do to get the number of letters in the last name? So it's going to be so we're going to call this len last name, and that's going to be equal to using the length function on last name. Okay, and with all that said, we need to get the first 2 letters of the first name. So I guess we need to define the first name as well. So first name is going to be name split, and that's going to be index 0. And first name, first 2, man, this is getting long, is going to be first name and we're going to do string slicing, and it's going to be start from 0, and it's going to be until index 3. No, index 3, 0, and 1. No, it's going to be index 2. And this is going to return only the first 2 letters of first name. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to print out a big thing telling you all of these variables. So it's going to be print, and then we're going to put an F in front so we can use the easier string formatting. And then we're going to do your last name is, and then we're going to use the variable last name. Your name is last name. VM Smith. Frog. Hello to you, and frog to you as well. VM Smith. If anybody is getting here late and has missed any of the workshop, you can always go back. You can go back inside the workshop, inside of the YouTube video player, or you could go to the YouTube channel for HackerFrogs, and you can look at any of our past live stream videos over there. All right, but welcome back, VM Smith. Okay, so your name is last name, and your last name has len last name letters in it. The first 2 letters of your first name are, and what did we name that? First name, first 2. First name, first 2. Okay, so let's test the program over here. All right, so we run the program. What is your full name? My name is the Shy Hat. Okay, and it says your last name is Shy Hat. Okay, that is the last name here. And your last name has 6 letters in it. Oh, wait, in. Okay, that's better. The first 2 letters of your first name are TH, and that is the first 2 letters of the name. All right, we're done. Okay, so before we finish today's workshop, if you're here from the Black Girls Hack organization, please fill out the survey at the following link right here. This is for BGH. And if you're from Women's Society for Cyberjutsu, please fill out the survey over here. This is for WSC. All right. So everybody, I hope you had fun learning about strings. Strings are so fun. Well, I mean, everybody does a lot of stuff with strings inside of Python. So this is some stuff we need to know. Okay, so let's go over what we learned today. All right, we talked about string formatting. String formatting is a way for us to include variable values in strings by using C-style syntax. So we can include the names of variables inside strings a couple of different ways, and using C-style syntax is actually not the preferred way anymore, because the preferred way is to use F-format strings, which looks a lot like, where were we? Which looks a lot like this. So using F before the quote and including the name of the variable wrapped up in curly braces inside of the string. So we also talked about basic string operations. Strings in Python have a number of different functions and methods can be useful for obtaining specific details about the strings. So we talked about all sorts of different methods and functions that can be used with strings. But one interesting thing that we talked about is we talked about outputting slices of strings through string indexing. So this is useful in certain circumstances. I personally haven't used very much string indexing, but it is very good to know that it exists, just in case you run across it inside of some code that you're looking at sometime. All right, so what's next? In the next HackerFrogs After School programming workshop, we're going to continue learning Python with the learnpython.org website, and the next workshop is going to be a doozy. We're going to be covering a couple of very important concepts inside of Python, which is programming loops and programming functions. So after next week's workshop, we're going to be able to write programs that are a lot more interesting, because we're going to be able to use loops and we're going to be able to write our own functions. But that's going to be, the next workshop is going to be next Monday. And we do have, remember that HackerFrogs has a Reddit page, and we have the schedule for our Python course over here. And I'll include this in the chat. So the next session is going to be session number 4 on Monday, June 17th, which is going to be, is it going to be Monday, June 17th? Let me take a look. Yeah, it's going to be Monday, June 17th, and we're going to be talking about all these different things. We're going to be talking about, oh, okay. Oh, all right. We're not going to be talking about functions next week. We're only going to be talking about loops. So loops is such a large topic that we're only going to be talking about loops in the next session. And in the session after that, which is going to be on the Wednesday, on June 19th, we're going to be diving into functions and how to write our own functions. All right, so Remember, if you want to learn about beginner's cybersecurity, you can always go to the HackerFrogs Reddit page, and on the HackerFrogs Reddit page, we have a lot of threads talking about where to get free and beginner-friendly learning materials for all sorts of stuff, such as general computer skills and networking education resources, Linux education resources, and we also print out our weekly schedules, our weekly streaming schedules over there. You'll find over here that we have our streaming schedule over here. We've got our Monday, June 10th one, our June 12th schedule, which is today's schedule, and this is not going to be on June 13th. I need to edit this. That's going to be on the June 14th schedule. Is going to be HackerFrogs free hacking on Friday. Let me edit this in real time, because I don't want people showing up on the 13th if I'm not going to be here on the 13th. So this is June 14th. I'm going to save this. I'm sad that I made that mistake. Okay, so everybody, if you want more HackerFrogs, we're going to be back on Friday, June 14th, and we're going to be doing Hack the Box Starting Point Tier 2 walkthroughs. We're going to everybody who wants to get started hacking using Hack the Box. We've been doing a series of guided walkthroughs where we go through the beginner boxes over at the Hack the Box website, and the next one is going to be the archetype website, the archetype box that is part of the tier 2 of their starting point. And let me tell you that the difficulty ramps up tremendously from the end of tier 1 until the beginning of tier 2, which is this box right here called archetype. If you don't have a Kali Linux box to participate, I would recommend going to the YouTube video that we have for HackerFrogs, and let me find the correct video. Okay, this is going to be we're looking at our lives. We're going by latest. Extra credit. I'm looking for free hacking. So this is free hacking from 11 days ago, and I'm looking for 18 days ago. Tier 0 machines. This one should be it. Let me take a look and make sure that this is the right one. So if you have not participated in any of the in this video right here, this is when we go over how to install VirtualBox on your Windows machine and how to create a Kali Linux virtual machine. So if you follow this this video right here, you should be able to, if you follow it, you should be able to install VirtualBox, the VirtualBox virtual machine management software onto your Windows system, and then create a Kali Linux virtual machine. And if you've done that, you should be able to follow along with us while we do our Hack the Box exercises. Okay, so everybody will be. Oh, L says, what time Friday? So the time is different. It's different from these HackerFrog sessions. This one is going to be at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a bit late, but this is but if you're not able to attend, because it's too late for you, or you're doing something else on Friday, I know a lot of people are doing other things on Friday, you can always watch the video on demand on the YouTube page, which is going to be available immediately after the session is over. So I've included the link for this video that covers how to install Kali Linux on your Windows machine through VMs, virtual machines, at this YouTube video over here. But to everybody who came by to watch the stream, thank you very much. And we'll be back on Friday, and we're going to be doing some free hacking and hacking the box. But everybody, thank you very much for coming today. I wish you much happiness and a great rest of your week, and we will see you on Friday. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time.